No, Native Americans were not the first Americans. Human footprints were found in New Mexico. They are 23,000 years old. This discovery changed everything we knew about American history. These mysterious people walked here long before Native Americans arrived. For decades, scientists thought they understood America's earliest days. The story seemed simple. People crossed from Asia around 13,000 years ago. They spread across two empty continents. They became Native Americans. But new evidence keeps pushing this timeline back. The footprints in New Mexico's White Sands National Park were made when massive ice sheets still covered North America. The climate was harsh, the landscape was unforgiving. Yet people were already here. They walked along an ancient lakeshore. They left their marks in the mud. These first Americans came from Siberia. Genetic studies show they were a mix of two groups. Ancient North Siberians paired up with East Asians. This happened around 23,000 years ago. Their children became the first Americans. But they didn't rush south immediately. They stayed in Beringia, the land bridge connecting Asia and America. This vast territory is now underwater. Back then, it was a cold but habitable plain. These people lived there for thousands of years. Scientists call this the Beringian Standstill. Finally, around 16,000 years ago, they began moving south. They split into different groups. Some stayed in Alaska, others ventured further. Each group developed its own unique language. Today, half of the world's language families are found in the Americas. The journey wasn't simple. There were no roads. Two massive ice sheets blocked the way south. But these people found a path. They likely traveled along the Pacific coast, using boats. They followed the shoreline all the way to South America. This coastal route theory makes sense. We know ancient humans could handle long sea journeys. They had reached Australia by boat 50,000 years ago. The Pacific coast offered food and easier travel than inland routes. But finding proof is hard. The ancient shoreline is now deep underwater. By 14,500 years ago, people had reached Chile. They left tools and campfires as evidence. Some scientists think humans arrived even earlier. A site in Brazil might be 25,000 years old. But many researchers question this date. The story keeps getting more complex. DNA shows at least 4 different waves of migration. The first Americans weren't one single group. They were many peoples with different origins. Today's Native Americans descend from these later waves. Their ancestors crossed Beringia after the first pioneers. They developed rich cultures across 2 continents. They built civilizations, but they weren't the first humans to walk these lands.